Good Tuesday morning, everybody, and welcome to Arnie's Fantasy World of Sports. Lenny, I hope you get the car. Hope you have a great Tuesday. I want to welcome everyone in the chat room. We got 13 right now active. Wow. Clarona, Chris Gallo, Dale, DK Lush, Mitch. What a great group this morning. We got a lot of information to cover, too. Phil Chappie, Rotorius, Timothy Hooker, Zelmo. We've even got a guest, Camilla, whoever guest Camilla is. But I'm glad to see all of you in the chat room this morning. I guess you saw yesterday the Nationals signed Eric Thames to play first base. There was some question about who would be at first base, really, for the defending champs. And I can see Howie Kendrick now being in some type of platoon. Eric Thames coming over. He was one of the players I was going to talk about this morning, who's until yesterday, one of the remaining free agents out there. Excuse me. And for someone like the Nationals who need that left-handed bat, here's Eric Thames coming in. He's dangerous against right-handers. He's had ups and downs in 3 seasons. He's a streaky hitter. We know that he came over from South Korea, and after a short stay there where he really produced well, he came on like a bandit his first year with Milwaukee to start the year. He was a fantasy darling, if you will, the beginning of that season. Cooled off. Last year hit 250. He's going to be, I guess, have competition with Matt Adams, but he's going to be the strong side probably of a platoon. I can't imagine that the Nationals would go out and sign a player like Eric Thames and not play him. Howie Kendrick, he's really a great utility player. And Kendrick can move around. He can play some second base. He can play some left field. He can play some first base. The main thing about Howie Kendrick is his bat. And that's what we love about him in fantasy is the Howie Kendrick bat. Now Washington will have the luxury of moving Kendrick around and allowing Eric Thames to come in at first base, pinch hit, whatever the situation may be. I think it's a great move. I really like that play. Now, I don't know about the Nationals ballpark. Typically a pitcher's park there in Washington. He's used to playing in a hitter's park in Milwaukee. But a good strong bat, a .524 slugging percentage last year. So I like the ad. I'm not surprised that Washington went out and got him. The world champs, they have really made some moves over the offseason. Let's take a look. They first of all, they re-up with Steven Strasburg, which in my opinion was unnecessary. They have maintained now that strong starting pitching. They've got Thames signed to a 1-year deal. They re-upped with Dakota Hudson, I think it was on Monday. He signed a 2-year deal worth $11 million. He was big in that bullpen. Remember, they also signed Will Harris to a 3-year deal on Friday. And Will Harris, he's pitched really well out of the bullpen for Houston over the last few years. In fact, probably one of the mainstays in that Houston bullpen, I think. So they've added Harris. They kept Dakota Hudson. They've got Doolittle. He's the presumptive closer. The question then will be, what happens with Josh Donaldson? And, that to me is the remainder of the free agent pool, the class of the free agent pool, if you will, who hasn't signed. The Braves certainly are reported to be a front runner. Phil Chappie, you say you'll be back in a minute. I'll be looking for you, Chappie. But that Donaldson ad could be critical. I think Washington, if they can go out now and get Donaldson to fill in for the departed Anthony Rendon, they don't lose a lot there in the short term. The bullpen, Doolittle, Harris, Hudson, Tanner, Rainey, Ronis Elias, Wander, Suero, Hunter Strickland. And then you've got a battle with Eric Fetty, Joe Ross, Austin Voth, Javi Guerrera, Kyle Finnegan for a rotation spot. I really like what the Nationals have done. Of course, they also re-upped with Asdrubal Cabrera. And Asdrubal Cabrera, he's a moving piece. He's fluid. He can play third. He can play short. He can play second. He can play first. Anywhere on the infield. So it gives the Nationals some flexibility now that they've gone out and added Eric Thames. I forgot to mention, I'd be remiss, Starlin Castro at second base. You know, I look at the stats of Starlin Castro over the last decade, and when it comes to hits, he's right there. They signed Castro to a 2-year, $12 million deal last Friday. They're still going after, as I said, Josh Donaldson. They've got flexibility in their team. Now, Castro will turn 30 just 2 days before opening day. I was talking about hits a moment ago. His 1,617 career hits. He's 27th among active players. He finished 10th among NL batsmen last year with 172 hits. You know, the Marlins, they moved him to third base some at the end of the year to bring up their prospect at second. I could just see the Nationals using him in different positions. Now, he hit 270 last year, 22 homers, 86 RBIs, playing in Miami. Now you move him to a team with, I would say, more balance up and down the order. I would expect similar numbers from Starlin Castro. I like what the Nationals have done, and they've not spent a lot of money doing it. So let's look at some other players. How about a right-handed bat off of the bench? Now, there are maybe a couple, maybe a few. There's Brian Dozier. He's definitely on the downside of a career. Todd Frazier, I consider him on the downside of a career. Ryan Zimmerman, who continues to crush lefties, and it appears that he may be ticketed for retirement. He's a lifelong National. The Nationals now, by signing Thames, by having Kendrick, I just wonder what, if any, plans they have for Ryan Zimmerman in the upcoming year. I wonder if Zimmerman, at his age and stage of his career, if he's even interested in moving on to another team. But he has had a 1.055 OPS against left-handed pitchers since 2017. So, if he's on the market, Ryan Zimmerman could be a nice piece for a team. Hunter Pence, here's the one. 13-year veteran. Now, defensively, I think he's limited. But he hit 327 off of lefties last year in Texas. 327! Yeah, let's hear it for Hunter Pence. I mean, 327 off lefties, that's not slack. And I think a lot of teams could do worse who need that fourth outfielder, who need that right-handed bat, who may even need a part-time starter. Pence could do it. Certainly in the American League, he could DH. I think he's a great ad, and he's still out there as a free agent. Speaking of moving around, how about a jack-of-all-trades type player like Brock Holt? Brock Holt, ex of the Red Sox, has played every position except pitcher and catcher in his career. He posted a .366 on-base percentage over the past 2 seasons, so he has a solid bat, can play all over the place, and frankly, I'm surprised the team hasn't already picked him up. Now, every team, remember, we go from a 25-man roster in 2019 to a 26-man roster this upcoming season. So we've got an extra player. Now, some teams may go with an extra bullpen arm. It makes sense. But then again, does it? You've got a new rule in place, guys, that's never been in place before. These relievers have to pitch to 3 batters. So you're probably not going to need as deep a bullpen. You're going to need bullpen arms who can go more than one hitter, but you're not going to need as many arms in the bullpen in all likelihood. I could see teams looking to a player like Brock Holt, who can play everywhere around the diamond, unlike Pence, who cannot, who can hit pretty well. He's a player that could fill that 26th man on your team. And if it's not a player like a Brock Holt, then a lot of teams I think might go and look for a speedster to take that 26th spot. How about someone like Terrence Gore for the Royals? Kevin Hastings, I know you love him. You know, he obviously has speed. Billy Hamilton has speed. They can be a liability at the plate. But Dyson has burner speed. Hamilton, he's 6 years younger than Jared Dyson. He has 97th percentile sprint speed. If Hamilton could ever hit 250, 260, how many bases could the guy steal? But Jared Dyson and Billy Hamilton are out there, and again, to look to fill the 26-man slot, aren't they players that could do it? Now, as an outfield, let's move there for a moment. What's going to happen to Nick Castellanos? I mean, everything I'm reading this morning is it looks like Texas is the front runner for Castellanos. What a team. I mean, the thing I like about Texas, they've taken the chance on Corey Kluber. They've got a young group down on the farm of good arms. And when I say good arms, I've seen them pitch. Hans Kraus, who throws around 100 miles an hour. Now, he's not going to help this year, but he's an up-and-coming star. Barring an injury, look out for Hans Kraus. I've seen him throw. He's a great one if he can stay away from injuries. But Castellanos coming to Texas, they have historically gone for offense. They've gone for pitching this offseason. And if they could now add a Castellanos to that lineup, it balances us out, don't you think? And I think then you got to start looking at the Rangers as a possible playoff team. Castellanos, after he got out of the American League last year in a pitcher-friendly park, Detroit, and went to the friendly confines of Wrigley Field in Chicago, Castellanos became a superhero at the plate. I mean, it was like Superman come to life, wearing a Chicago Cub uniform. No S on the front, but Castellanos on the back. And playing in Texas, where the weather is hot and the balls fly. It sounds like a great move for both teams. Castellanos, not a great fielder, granted, but a good hitter in a great park. Willie Calhoun coming along. I really like Willie Calhoun this year. I think Willie Calhoun can be such a sleeper for us fantasy gurus. Now, where he gets drafted, I guess that's discussion for another day. But I got to believe Texas is going with Calhoun. They've traded Mazzaro away, opening the door for Calhoun to play every day. Castellanos, certainly, if you sign him, he's not going to sit on a bench. He's going to play every day too. And I just think that to me is one of the better moves of the offseason at a positional play is Nick Castellanos going to the Texas Rangers. Now, we've got two more outfielders I want to talk about. And chat room, I'm looking for you. Chappie's with me. You're back. I love it.